Chapter 344, 3-Day Drunk. Chapter 344, 3-Day Drunk. At the contact place for alchemy school. In the courtyard, Jian Wushuang was practicing his sword arts while Yang Zixuan and Su Ru sat quietly at a table on the side. Though Su Ru had regained consciousness, she still looked pale and sad. Apparently, she hadn't recovered from the heavy blow yet. She had been so shocked by Yi Chen's betrayal that it had even affected her physically, and she had yet to recover. "Third bro." A voice was heard and Wang Yuan ran in. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked over at Wang Yuan. "Any news?" Wang Yuan nodded, but he was hesitant and nervous as he said, "My father said the alchemy school won't step in." "What?" Yang Zixuan and Su Ru were surprised. This time, Holy Emperor Palace would definitely send one of their holy masters. If alchemy school didn't help them, how could they defend against them? Jian Wushuang just raised his brows while listening to the news. There was no sorrow or happiness on his face. "I don't understand his decision either. I asked him repeatedly, but he only told me that it's not because the alchemy school fears Holy Emperor Palace. It's because of some special circumstances." So, Wang Yuan paused and reached out. "Here are 2 elixirs, a spirit recovering elixir and a yin-yang dark dragon elixir. Spirit recovering elixir, the highest level of healing elixir on the Nanyang continent. Even inside the alchemy school, no one can refine it. The elixir helps restore spiritual power and can quickly recover from a wound, which can be very useful in your life is on the line. Yin-yang dark dragon elixir. It can increase your strength for a short period of time, but it has a small side effect. My father asked me to give them to you, and he said it's the only thing alchemy school can do to help you." Looking at the elixirs in Wang Yuan's hands, Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Whether it was the spirit recovering elixir or the yin-yang dark dragon elixir, he knew they were both top-level elixirs. Like magic weapons and manuals, elixirs were also classified into 3 levels. Spirit recovering elixirs were superior 2nd grade. Yin-yang dark dragon elixirs were at a slightly lower grade, medium 2nd grade. On the Nanyang continent, few alchemists could refine these elixirs. Therefore, these 2 elixirs were valuable. "Third bro, I'm sorry." Wang Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang with guilt. "I'm not a disciple of alchemy school and alchemy school has its own concerns. So it's normal. You have nothing to apologize for. What's more, you have given me 2 elixirs, which helps me a lot." Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and accepted the elixirs. He was Wang Yuan's brother, but he had little connection with the alchemy school. He was grateful that the alchemy school gave him a spirit recovering elixir and a yin-yang dark dragon elixir. If he had a chance, he would return the favor. "Don't worry, I will be staying with you. If you die, I will die too. I don't believe my father will still sit by idly," Wang Yuan said in a deep voice. "Don't be silly," Jian Wushuang said, then glanced at Wang Yuan. "I'm staying as well." Yang Zixuan looked at Jian Wushuang. "Third bro." Su Ru gave him a stern look. They were like a family. So, of course, they would live or die together. None of them would abandon the others. Jian Wushuang was greatly touched. He smiled and said, "Let's not talk about it anymore. We haven't been gathered together in a long time. Today, let's have a good drink." "Okay." Wang Yuan nodded heavily. "Today we must have a good drink." They moved to a stone table and Jian Wushuang took out a pot of wine, pouring each one of them a drink. "What's this? It smells good." Wang Yuan took a deep breath, smelling the aroma of wine and marveling at it. "It does," Yang Zixuan said and nodded. "It really was a hard-won wine." "Cheers," Jian Wushuang said, then raised his wine and smiled. Wang Yuan, Yang Zixuan, and Su Ru also raised their glasses, then they guzzled them down. However, Jian Wushuang only put it under his nose without drinking it. "Third bro, why didn't you drink yours?" After emptying his glass, Wang Yuan noticed Jian Wushuang's glass was still full, so he frowned. But his face turned red and he quickly began to feel dizzy. The wine, Wang Yuan's voice became soft, then he fell on the stone table. "Third bro, you." Yang Zixuan felt dizzy and foggy. He shook his head fiercely, trying to stay awake, but he fell asleep as well. Su Ru's face was also red. She took a deep look at Jian Wushuang, then she fainted too. After that drink, everyone was drunk except for Jian Wushuang. I knew it. An old figure walked slowly towards him. Senior wine master, said Jian Wushuang, then he stood up and smiled. How was my 3-day drunk? Wine master asked. It deserves its reputation. They all became drunk after only one drink, Jian Wushuang said. Of course. It was made 1,000 years ago by the best winemaker on the Nanyang continent. One drink can even make me sleep for 3 days, let alone them. Wine master smiled slightly, then he looked seriously at Jian Wushuang. Young man, you really want to confront Holy Emperor Palace by yourself? Yesterday, Jian Wushuang asked Wine Master for a pot of 3-day drunk. Wine Master had realized what Jian Wushuang planned to do. What else can I do? Jian Wushuang asked and smiled in an odd manner. I have no other choice but to face them because of the blood soul mark. But these 3. I understand how they are. If I didn't do this, they would insist on going with me. The resentment is between me and Holy Emperor Palace, so I'll take care of it on my own. There's no need to get them in trouble. Looking at them all, bent over the desk, Jian Wushuang was determined. Even if it was a crisis for Wang Yuan, Yang Zixuan, or Su Ru, he would protect them, let alone his own problems. Be my brothers, we should share our joys, but bear the sorrows, only by me. Chapter 345, Preparations. Chapter 345, Preparations. Since you have decided, I won't say anything. Wine Master looked at Jian Wushuang with a serious face. Then he took out 2 golden purple light beads, which seemed ordinary but contained an enormous attack power. What are they? Jian Wushuang looked at him in surprise and asked. They are demonic grenades. I got them by chance. Wine Master said, this small bead holds an enormous power with a sophisticated operation method. As long as it recognizes you as its owner, you can detonate it with your mind. I tested one once, and the power it released shocked me. If used properly, a demonic grenade can threaten even a pinnacle Saint Realm expert. The remaining 2 are yours. Consider it a gift, in honor of our relationship. Thank you so much, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. He took the golden purple light beads and held them in his hands tightly. After sensing the power of the demonic grenades, cruelty rose in his eyes. When will you set off? Wine Master looked at him and asked. Now, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Wine Master nodded and said, make sure you are prepared. Please take care of them, Jian Wushuang said. Don't worry. Experts from alchemy school will look after them, Wine Master said with a smile. Jian Wushuang nodded. He looked at Wang Yuan, Yang Zixuan, and Su Ru once more, then he took a deep breath and departed. After getting the 3 of them situated, Wine Master also left, heading in the direction that Jian Wushuang had gone. In an ancient, vast, and majestic mountain range. At the very center of the mountain range, a giant mountain rose, at least 1,000 feet high. It was known as the Skyward Mountain. A black-clothed young man, Jian Wushuang, was standing at the top of Skyward Mountain with a long sword on his back. Then he sat down and took out several interspatial rings. He got them from the 7 Saint Realm experts of Holy Emperor Palace. After he killed them and took their interspatial rings, he had not had a chance to carefully inspect them until now. 7 interspatial rings in total. He began checking them one by one. He had to admit that the 7 Saint Realm experts from Holy Emperor Palace, who had all comprehended domain, each had a large number of valuable assets that even included some rare treasures. Elixirs, manuals, and magic weapons as well. Among the treasures, there was one that even surprised him. He found a big black bow. Though there were no arrows with it, its power was still terrifying. God-killing bow. Seeing it, Jian Wushuang felt surprised and happy. This god-killing bow was a magic weapon, a second-grade magic weapon. Different from other magic weapons, the god-killing bow could gather a large amount of killing power in a matter of seconds. Nice. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, Mo Yun's interspatial ring really had something good. But it still took time to gather power. That's why he didn't use it when he fought with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was too fast, so he didn't have enough time. Now, it belonged to Jian Wushuang. The demonic grenades, god-killing bow, and my other means should give me a slim chance of survival. Jian Wushuang believed he had a chance. The fight was unavoidable as long as the blood soul mark stayed on him. His cloned body was destroyed and the new one hadn't formed yet. Therefore, he couldn't secretly replace himself with a clone. There was also no one helping him. He could only rely on himself. On top of the giant mountain, Jian Wushuang was sitting cross-legged. Then he closed his eyes slowly. His breath became steady and his mind calmed down. Half a day quickly passed. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, which were full of determination. Everything is ready. Both my strength and mind are in a perfect state. I have exhausted all my means and prepared 5 killing moves. Holy Emperor Palace, no matter who you send, with the help of these 5 killing moves, I will be capable of fighting with them head-on. Rumble tilde. A devastating aura rose and surged, causing the whole area to tremble. In the long mountain range, Jian Wushuang wasn't the only one present. There were many experts hiding in the surrounding areas, waiting quietly. News had spread since the battle in Ice Nether Valley a few days ago. And Jian Wushuang was at the eye of the storm because of the blood soul mark. Everyone knew that Holy Emperor Palace wouldn't let him off. They would definitely send one of their holy masters to kill him. So there would definitely be a fierce fight. Therefore, many of them were waiting, filled with expectations. They wanted to see whether Jian Wushuang, a rare genius, would once again be able to create a miracle during this life and death crisis. They had been following and watching him since he left Ice Nether Valley. Now, with Jian Wushuang at the top of Skyward Mountain, it was obvious that others would be here too. The surrounding area was abuzz with discussion. It seems he is going to make his stand here. Because of the blood soul mark, there is no choice but to fight them to the death. If they want to make sure he has no chance to survive, Holy Emperor Palace will have to send out a holy master to deal with him. Which one will come? Many experts were standing in the surrounding area, waiting quietly. Then, one day later, a slender elder in a black robe slowly appeared from off in the distance. He walked slowly, but with each step, he seemed to move 1,000 feet. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at the center of the mountain range. Floating in front of the Skyward Mountain, he looked down at Jian Wushuang. As soon as the slender elder appeared, the experts in the surrounded turned to face him. They were all dumbfounded. He is Second Holy Master. Chapter 346, 5 Killing Moves, Part 1. Chapter 346, 5 Killing Moves, Part 1. Second Holy Master. He came here. I thought Holy Emperor Palace would send 4th Holy Master or 3rd Holy Master to handle this. I didn't expect that 2nd Holy Master would turn up. Many experts were stunned. 2nd Holy Master, Bo Shi. The Wine Master's expression changed when he saw the slender black-robed elder. It's over. Wine Master sighed while shaking his head. He had fought with 4th Holy Master and 2nd Holy Master, so he knew 2nd Holy Master was very powerful. He thought if 4th Holy Master came, Jian Wushuang would have an opportunity to fight back against him. If 3rd Holy Master showed up, Jian Wushuang might have a chance to survive. But now it was 2nd Holy Master. He will die. Wine Master thought. 2nd Holy Master is personally fighting him. Jian Wushuang is doomed. The other experts also shared this thought. While still at the peak of Skyward Mountain, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, raised his head, and stared at the slender black-robed elder. The elder peacefully stood above the mountain, without emanating an aura. However, Jian Wushuang felt a great pressure. There are 4 Holy Masters in Holy Emperor Palace. I wonder who you are, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. I'm 2nd Holy Master, Bo Shi, the slender black-robed elder replied. 2nd Holy Master? Jian Wushuang's face changed slightly. Since you know who I am, you should be clear about your ending. Now I will give you an opportunity. You can kill yourself. 2nd Holy Master stood there with a cold, arrogant look. He was definitely qualified to look down on Jian Wushuang. Kill myself. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, in this world, no one can make me kill myself. Are you qualified? Since you're so stubborn, I won't show any mercy, Second Holy Master said coldly. Then he took a step forwards. In that instant, his stride spanned hundreds of feet while radiating invisible waves. Jian Wushuang felt a great power begin to suppress him from all directions. He was a bit surprised. Fight! Jian Wushuang suddenly snarled. As his thunderous voice reverberated, a roaring battle intent suddenly spread out. A terrifying power, which could devour everything, burst forth. Soul-devouring secret skill. Normally, Jian Wushuang would wait, only displaying this skill when he had no choice. But this time, Jian Wushuang performed it without any hesitation. The terrifying power devoured everything in the surroundings. A large amount of natural power flowed into his body, which made his aura soar. Very interesting tactic. Second Holy Master quietly stood there and did not try to block it. The battle intent in Jian Wushuang's eyes was powerful. Azura secret skill, road to the underworld. Hua! A vast blood river directly flowed out. Instantly, it spread over a radius of more than 1,000 meters and covered the whole area. Second Holy Master was stuck in it. Then, Jian Wushuang activated Slaughter Domain and Sword Sea. The three skills combined and released their strength. Immediately, the blood river tumbled and turbulent water rushed toward Second Holy Master. Second Holy Master was in the center of the blood river, like a boat, swaying in the endless sea. The triple kill sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hands. The power of the magic weapon erupted. A phantom giant suddenly appeared behind Jian Wushuang. The phantom giant was larger than before. As Jian Wushuang wielded the triple kill sword, the towering phantom giant slowly swung the long sword. Blood-emptying technique, the first move. Shua. The moment the huge blood-red sword light directly lashed out, the heaven and earth seemed to be split in two. Jian Wushuang had finished his first killing move, Road to the Underworld, Slaughter Domain, Sword Sea, the first move of blood-emptying technique, and the outburst of the triple kill sword. The power of Blood River is great. You must have depended on this Blood River to kill our 7 Saint Realm experts. Second Holy Master said indifferently. He watched the huge stroke slash toward him, then casually waved his hand. Then a forlorn, shrill howl rang out. The huge blood-red sword light seemed to be hampered as it suddenly stopped and then shattered completely. Second Holy Master casually broke the first killing move. Jian Wushuang remained composed. The moment the sword light was smashed, a stream of great blood-red power began to gather in his palm. Soon, it reached its limit and exuded a soaring blood-red light. The second move of Azura secret skill, Bridge of Helplessness. As Jian Wushuang let out a cry, the surrounding air seemed to suddenly tremble. On the edge of the blood river, a towering long blood-red bridge suddenly appeared and extended to the end of the river at an amazing speed. Jian Wushuang stood on the bridge and walked forward. A large amount of blood-red energy gathered around his body, as if he wore a blood-red armor. His momentum improved to a new level. When it reached its peak, the phantom giant waved its muscular arms and struck a blow. This stroke was much more powerful than the previous one. After Bridge of Helplessness made his momentum reach the peak, Jian Wushuang displayed the second move of the blood-emptying technique, which was his second killing move. Ridiculous, Second Holy Master sneered. A terrifying power instantly gathered in his palm. Then he clenched his fist and threw a punch. The punch was like a huge meteor as it violently collided with the sword shadow. Then the powerful sword shadow was smashed again. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was surrounded by a force of gale and thunderbolt. His body changed into lightning, easily flashing through the air to appear at Second Holy Master's side. Then he threw 2 golden-purple light beads at the elder. The 2 golden-purple light beads landed, less than 2 meters away from Second Holy Master. Demonic grenade. Second Holy Master's expression eventually changed. Explosion. Jian Wushuang shouted. The 2 demonic grenades directly exploded. Chapter 347, 5 Killing Moves, Part 2. Chapter 347, 5 Killing Moves, Part 2. Boom. Boom. Following the 2 loud booms, 2 violent windstorms formed in the sky. The demonic grenade was given to him by Wine Master. He said that if used properly, a demonic grenade could even endanger a top expert who has reached the pinnacle. Jian Wushuang found an opportunity to throw 2 demonic grenades at Second Holy Master, which was his third killing move. Second Holy Master was overwhelmed by the terrifying power of the 2 demonic grenades. He was stuck in the 2 windstorms for a long time before he finally smashed the windstorms with his great power and reappeared before everyone's eyes. At this moment, Second Holy Master looked embarrassed. His black robe had become ragged because of the explosion. However, he was not injured and his aura had not weakened. Boy, that was a nice skill. Anything else? Second Holy Master stood in the air and coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang. However, in the next moment, he was shocked. He saw Jian Wushuang drawing a huge bow. A stream of terrifying strength gathered on the bow, merging to form a golden arrow. He was the target. God-killing bow. Second Holy Master was startled. When the power of the golden arrow reached the limit, Jian Wushuang relaxed his finger. Swish. The golden arrow shot forward, changing into a flash of golden light. Instantly, it pierced the space between them with its golden tail, like a comet. He obtained the god-killing bow from Mo Yun's interspatial ring. As a second-grade magic weapon, it was really different from an ordinary weapon. Once it was used, the terrifying power of the golden arrow would rush forward. With the help of Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness, Jian Wushuang unleashed the god-killing bow and shot the golden arrow. The power was enough to threaten an expert at the pinnacle. The speed of the arrow was so fast that Second Holy Master was not able to dodge it. He could only try his best to block it. This was Jian Wushuang's 4th killing move. It was set up in conjunction with the 3rd killing move because the time needed to prepare the god-killing bow was provided by the explosion of the 2 demonic grenades. Right as Second Holy Master disentangled him from the explosion, the god-killing bow had just finished the preparations to attack, without leaving Second Holy Master a chance to breathe. The killing moves arrived in quick succession. The golden arrow instantly appeared in front of Second Holy Master, moving directly toward his neck. Second Holy Master snorted while immediately slapping it with his hand. Kai. The golden arrow was powerful. Its terrifying power allowed it to pierce through Second Holy Master's palm and continue flying toward his throat. Second Holy Master widened his eyes. Then streams of great spiritual power gushed out and formed a shield around his body. The golden arrow collided with the shield of spiritual power. The very moment it managed to pierce the shield, the power of the arrow disappeared. How dangerous! Second Holy Master was frightened. The golden arrow was only 5 millimeters away from striking his neck after breaking through the shield. Boy, it seems that I underestimated you. Second Holy Master coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang, with a surge of killing intent flashing in his eyes. It had been a long time since he had such a fright. Now it was caused by a young expert in the Yang Void realm. Not only is he still alive, he was not even injured by my 4 killing moves. Now, everything depends on this last move. Jian Wushuang's eyes became slightly red as killing intent began gushing out. Then he took out a faint yellow elixir and ate it. Yin-Yang Dark Dragon Elixir. It could greatly increase his strength for a short period of time. In an instant, he felt the blood racing through his veins and his potential was completely activated. His strength became at least double. Then, Jian Wushuang suddenly patted his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood, then quickly waved his hand to catch it. This action was repeated several times, leaving a dozen palm prints on his chest. Azura secret skill, the 3rd move, 18 levels of hell. Jian Wushuang let out a snarl. His face was distorted and his veins stood out on his forehead as if his veins would burst. Previously, Jian Wushuang was not able to perform 18 levels of hell, because he did not have enough spiritual power and strength. However, now, after performing the soul-devouring secret skill, eating the Yin-Yang Dark Dragon Elixir, and even drawing his own blood, he could barely display this move. Boom! The blood river madly tumbled and roared. It originally covered 1,000 meters, but now it extended thousands of meters at an amazing speed until it resembled the road to the underworld. The Bridge of Helplessness, that spanned the blood river, constantly stretched while becoming more enormous and towering. In the middle of the blood river, a piece of blood cloud swirled, forming a huge vortex. Then, a huge blood-red pavilion slowly descended. It had 18 floors, with ghost shadows visible on each floor, and their screams and roars could be heard. Buzz! The moment the pavilion landed on the blood river, invisible waves spread out. Time seemed to stop for a moment. Second Holy Master stood in the blood river, with a hint of shock in his eyes, watching the ghosts crazily rushing toward him as he fell into a panic. He desperately bit his lips and barely managed to keep a clear mind. At this moment, another elixir appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. It was the Spirit Recovering Elixir. Chapter 348, 5 Killing Moves, Part 3. Chapter 348, 5 Killing Moves, Part 3. Performing the 4 killing moves, especially the 18 levels of hell, almost consumed all his spiritual power. The Spirit Recovering Elixir would help him recover some. It began working as soon as he ate it. The size of the giant behind him increased greatly, becoming hundreds of feet tall, and the power of its sword also soared. The moment Jian Wushuang raised the triple kill sword above his head, the towering phantom giant held up the long sword as well. Blood emptying technique, the third move. Jian Wushuang shouted, with a hint of madness flashing in his eyes. Instantly, a huge blood-red sword light swept out. It was powerful. The moment the stroke lashed out, the whole area became dead still. The Yin-Yang Dark Dragon Elixir, 18 levels of hell, and the third move of the blood-emptying technique made up his strongest move. This was his 5th killing move. The blood river was tumbling and roaring. Second Holy Master, who was stuck inside it, felt as if his consciousness was being devoured by the influence of 18 levels of hell. 18 levels of hell was completely different from Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness. It was a special skill that suppressed consciousness. Even Second Holy Master could barely keep conscious at this moment. When the blood-red sword light dashed toward him, Second Holy Master could not perform some of his best moves to parry it. He could only wave his hand to throw out a punch. In the blink of an eye, bang! A loud boom was heard, causing invisible waves to spread out. Then, lots of plants in the mountains were crushed into dust. Surprised, Second Holy Master spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a shooting star, he fell down at an amazing speed. Boom! Second Holy Master crashed into a giant mountain, thousands of feet away from their battlefield, causing the mountain to break. The Elder passed through the mountain and continued to retreat. Boom! Boom! Second Holy Master went through 2 giant mountains in succession, leaving a hole in each mountain. Upon colliding with the third one, he barely managed to come to a stop, but found himself embedded in the mountain. The whole area became quiet. In the sky, the roaring blood river gradually dissipated, as did Bridge of Helplessness and the blood-red pavilion. Jian Wushuang stood above the area with a pale complexion, clutching his chest and staring in the Second Holy Master's direction. A large number of onlookers, including many experts of the Saint Realm, could not help sucking in a breath of cold air. Then they all looked at Jian Wushuang in unprecedented terror. They originally thought that since Second Holy Master dealt with him personally, he would be able to kill him without a doubt. But what they saw was contrary to their expectations. Jian Wushuang had taken the initiative in this fight. 5 killing moves. He launched 5 killing moves in succession. Each move stronger than the previous one. He did not even give his opponent an opportunity to breathe. Especially, the last killing move. It was so powerful that many top experts were terrified from the bottom of their heart. Even the wine master was shocked when he watched Jian Wushuang perform that last move. He knew that if he had been targeted by that last attack, he would. All the onlookers were petrified. Now they were worried about Second Holy Master instead. Is Second Holy Master dead? All the onlookers looked toward where Second Holy Master had landed with shock and curiosity. Broken stones fell as a cloud of smoke and dust covered the hole, so they could not see the scene inside, making it unclear whether Second Holy Master was dead or not. Suddenly, swoosh! Lots of broken stones fell from the hole. Then, a black-robed person walked out and reappeared above the area. The wine master's face fell. He shook his head, sighed, and said, Second Holy Master is Second Holy Master. The Wine Master thought that if Fourth Holy Master or Third Holy Master had been attacked with the 5 killing moves, they would have died. Second Holy Master was more powerful indeed. Alive. Second Holy Master is still alive. I knew he would not die with just this. Lots of experts sighed as they saw Second Holy Master's appearance. Second Holy Master's aura had weakened. He looked pale, with blood around the corner of his mouth. His clothes were torn and one of his sleeves missing. He looked bad and seriously injured. But he was alive indeed. You didn't die, Jian Wushuang said while suspending in the air above. His face fell and he stared at his opponent with hostility. He had used his full strength to perform those 5 killing moves. But Second Holy Master was still alive. Jian Wushuang had reached his limit and used up all his spiritual power. He could no longer fight. Now he knew that he was standing before the gate of hell. Second Holy Master darkened his face. He wiped off the blood from around his mouth and coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang. Boy, you do possess some strength. Even I was almost killed by you. If given more time, you would be stronger than me. But it's pity, you won't have such an opportunity. Then a greenish-black giant hammer appeared in his hand. Chapter 349 An Unexpected Surprise. Chapter 349 An Unexpected Surprise. You should be proud to be killed by my magic weapon. Along with his soaring killing intent, Second Holy Master held a giant hammer, which was filled with a violent aura. His cold voice resounded through the whole area. Many onlookers just now realized that Second Holy Master had been fighting without a weapon. Boy, let me help you on your way. Second Holy Master took a stride and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and launched an attack with his giant hammer. Invisible waves spread out as if to suppress the whole area. Jian Wushuang looked pale and felt he was facing a deadly crisis. His eyes became crazy. Then, he suddenly raised his head and let out a hysterical cry. Fight! Though he knew that his spiritual power was used up and death was waiting for him, he still lifted his hand. The triple kill sword madly trembled and roared. The towering phantom giant behind him greatly increased in size, brandishing a long sword. Jian Wushuang swung the triple kill sword forward. He used up his last bit of strength and struck a blow. Go to hell! The greenish-black giant hammer directly collided with the triple kill sword. Clang! A metallic sound came out and invisible waves spread toward Jian Wushuang. Bang! Jian Wushuang's right hand suddenly tore, causing a mess of blood and flesh. His bones barely could be seen while his triple kill sword was cast away. The invisible waves continued to sweep over him. Jian Wushuang only felt a stream of unimaginable power lash against him. Blood was spat out and his eyes and nose began bleeding. He felt as if all of his bones had been smashed. Bang! Jian Wushuang fell down to the mountain below. A huge pit appeared on the ground, with Jian Wushuang at the bottom of it. Many spectators looked toward the pit. After quite a while, it was still quiet in the pit. Some onlookers sighed and proclaimed, "It's over." An expert of the Yang Void realm actually managed to fight Second Holy Master to such an extent. He was amazing. It was amazing indeed. Our Nanyang continent has had many geniuses in the past, but Jian Wushuang was peerless. What a pity. If given more time, he would have become a legend. Now it's all over. That's the end. It's over. Many of the experts felt pity for this marvelous genius. Geniuses always needed time to grow. If they died before they matured, they could not become a legend. In the pit, Jian Wushuang was still able to open his eyes. Even though blood was flowing from his mouth, his bones were almost broken, and his aura was disappearing, he still had a hint of consciousness. Am I going to die? Jian Wushuang murmured. His voice sounded quite feeble. Holy Emperor Palace, I refuse to die. I haven't delivered on the promise with my father. I haven't reached the pinnacle as a warrior. My parents, brothers, and relatives. There are too many things I haven't done. I won't accept it. He slowly closed his eyes, then suddenly reopened them. A hint of shock flashed in his eyes. That is, Jian Wushuang regained his consciousness. He saw a bizarre grey light in his belly. The grey light grew brighter and brighter, gradually gathering something. It was a grey stone bead, which was emitting a faint light. The grey stone bead. Jian Wushuang was greatly taken aback. It had been in his body for 16 years. Heavenly creation skill and soul-devouring secret skill both came from it. The grey stone bead could be considered the key point in changing his fate. Without the grey stone bead and heavenly creation skill, he might have achieved a lot, but he could not improve his strength to such an extent in a short period of time. The grey stone bead was mysterious and inconceivable. Jian Wushuang did not know when the grey stone bead appeared in his body. After the grey stone bead absorbed the spiritual power to its limit, Jian Wushuang originally thought it had completely disappeared. He had never perceived its existence during these few years. However, now, when he was dying, the mysterious grey stone bead emerged once again. It began to spin, producing a thick grey fog. It was ground until it was the size of an infant's thumb before the bead finally stopped. The thick grey fog madly gathered and condensed into a grey water drop. The moment the grey water drop finished forming, it immediately merged with his body. Jian Wushuang felt a stream of great and refreshing power flow through his body. In an instant, his injured bones, muscles, and organs started to recover at an amazing speed. It was too fast. In his sea of consciousness, a tough sword soul was quietly suspended there. The sword soul was so strong. Though Jian Wushuang was just at death's door, it still remained intact. Under the influence of the grey water drop, the sword soul began to shake violently. Sword essence rolled while his sword soul greatly expanded. Then the sword soul split. Once his sea of consciousness calmed down, the sword soul had been divided into two. Double sword souls. Chapter 350, The Grey Water Drop Transforms. Chapter 350, The Grey Water Drop Transforms. It was silent. All the spectators felt pity for Jian Wushuang. Second Holy Master was suspended in the air, coldly staring at the huge pit. It had been quite a while since Jian Wushuang had fallen, so everyone thought he must have died. Finally, I killed him. Second Holy Master murmured. He looked at himself and thought, if the other three masters see my current appearance, they would think I had a tough fight with the boy and laugh at me. He shook his head and looked toward where the triple kill sword landed. I heard his sword is a first-grade magic weapon. Second Holy Master's eye lit up. Then he went to claim the sword. But, right at this moment, buzz! A surge of invisible energy suddenly appeared. Hum! Second Holy Master stopped and looked at the pit again. Many spectators above the nearby space also looked toward it. Boom! The whole area seemed to shake for an instant, then the ground started to violently vibrate as if it was roaring. In the huge pit, lots of stones began floating up. Then a figure slowly flew out. Jian Wushuang. Everybody stared at him in shock. His clothes were dyed red by blood. His arms were a mess of blood and flesh, with even his bones being slightly visible. His eyes were closed and his black hair fluttered. A stream of aura spread out and began growing stronger and stronger. As he moved to stand above the area, rumble. It sounded like the whole world cracked. A great amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy madly surged toward Jian Wushuang from all directions. The spiritual power whistled through the area, surrounding Jian Wushuang in an instant and creating a great spiritual storm that radiated out 100 meters. Jesus! That's heaven and earth spiritual energy. Lots of experts could not help but widen his eyes. The spiritual storm was quite grand. Jian Wushuang immersed himself in it. A large amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy was devoured by him. Owing to it, his aura became stronger and stronger. Previously, his aura had withered to a point where it might completely disappear, but now it had reached a new level, much stronger than before. The aura kept soaring. Swish! The triple kill sword trembled and then flew toward its owner, returning to Jian Wushuang's grasp again. His eyes were still closed, but at this moment, the two sword souls were radiating a brilliant light within his sea of consciousness. Rumble! Two spectral images suddenly appeared behind his back. The two spectral images looked the same as Jian Wushuang, but much bigger than him. Now they kept the same posture as their owner, with the long sword in their hands and their eyes closed. Sword Soul Phantoms. 2 sword souls created 2 sword soul phantoms. Their sword essence was powerful. The boy is still alive. Second Holy Master's face fell. Then a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! With one stride, Second Holy Master appeared before his opponent. A surge of power gathered in his hand and he swung his giant hammer, which emitted an enormous energy. The moment it smashed forward, an explosive power swept out. Go to hell! Second Holy Master's face was distorted. He did not know what his opponent was doing. However, he was frightened, so he would not give the boy any opportunities. This attack was stronger than the previous one. Jian Wushuang still had his eyes closed and did not seem to notice, but his 2 sword soul phantoms opened their eyes, shooting out 2 streaks of light. Like a sword strike, the light swept out, causing 2 huge sword scars to appear in the sky and cracks to form in the ground. At this moment, the triple kill sword directly lashed out. A casual stroke. It contained no sword skills or tricks. This simple stroke collided with the giant hammer. Peng! With a loud boom, Second Holy Master was blasted backwards, as if he had been hit by a bomb. Boom! Boom! His body flew across the sky, humming violently. After regaining his balance, Second Holy Master gasped while in shock. All the spectators were petrified. He had repelled Second Holy Master with a casual strike. Jian Wushuang still kept the same posture, as if he had not launched an attack. The great spiritual storm remained there and he was crazily devouring the heaven and earth spiritual energy as if he would never be full. As his aura soared, his face became ruddy. He had almost recovered, and his bloody arms seemed intact. His bones, muscles, and even the tiny parts of his body were changing under the influence of the grey water drop. Improve. Transform. With every breath, his body was being strengthened as much as dozens of times. His aura became increasingly stronger. What on earth happened? He was dying, but now? He made a breakthrough at the last moment. Breakthrough? All of them thought of this possibility. After all, Jian Wushuang was at the peak of the young void realm. He was a peerless genius, so he might be able to make a breakthrough. Chapter 351, Venerable Master. Chapter 351, Venerable Master. Breakthrough. Jian Wushuang was making a breakthrough indeed. When the grey water drop merged with his body, he started making a breakthrough. He was different from ordinary warriors. Ordinary warriors followed this cultivating path, the 7 steps of the spirit path, spiritual sea realm, primordial gold core realm, yin-yang void realm, and divine transcendent. However, Jian Wushuang had cultivated the heavenly creation skill, so he followed a different path, the 9 heavens of the divine path, ultimate spiritual sea, supreme gold core realm, yin and yang breaking, venerable master, and flying to the 9th heaven. Ordinary warriors would reach divine transcendence after breaking through the peak of the yang void realm. Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator, so he would reach venerable master after yin and yang breaking. The difference between a venerable master and warriors of divine transcendence was their body. The former had a more powerful body. Jian Wushuang's body was currently transforming. With every passing second it became stronger and tougher. I cannot believe it. Second Holy Master's thin face was distorted, with a flicker of coldness in his eyes. Then a stream of red power swept out. His giant hammer was covered by red flames, as if it were burning. Second Holy Master suddenly stamped on the air. The space around him shook, emitting a red wave. Then, Second Holy Master appeared in front of his opponent once again. Boom! The greenish-black giant hammer smashed toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang still did not react, but his 2 sword soul phantoms emanated a soaring killing intent, and their sword essence was powerful enough to destroy the mountain and river and make everything tremble. The triple kill sword slashed out again, while the sword soul phantoms swung their swords as well. The moment the sword light appeared, the whole area completely turned dark. The streak of sword light was like the king in this world of darkness. With a hint of craziness in his eyes, Second Holy Master suddenly launched a scarlet thunderbolt before his stroke collided with the sword light. The scarlet thunderbolt moved so quickly that Jian Wushuang did not seem to have time to parry it. Boom! The scarlet thunderbolt lashed his chest. His clothes split, but only a bloody mark was left on his chest. What? Second Holy Master widened his eyes. How is that possible? All the spectators were stunned. Second Holy Master's strongest move, Scarlet Lightning, could easily smash an expert of the Saint Realm, but just now it only scratched Jian Wushuang's skin. The brilliant sword light continued flying forward and crashed against the giant hammer. Peng! Even though the giant hammer was a second-grade magic weapon, it was instantly split in half. Then the sword light continued moving toward Second Holy Master. The collision with giant hammer caused the sword light to slightly change its trajectory. Kai! The sword light passed through Second Holy Master's thighs. His legs were instantly cut off and then they slowly fell down. Hiss! Second Holy Master sucked in a breath of cold air and felt scalp tingle as if his head was about to explode. All the spectators completely froze in shock. 2 successive strokes. The first stroke only repelled Second Holy Master. However, the second stroke was so powerful that it broke Second Holy Master's magic weapon and cut off his legs. More importantly, Jian Wushuang was still in the process of transforming. The spiritual storm was still there. His aura still soared and his body was constantly being strengthened. Monster! This boy is a monster. Second Holy Master gritted his teeth. Despite the pain of his severed legs, he rushed in the opposite direction under the gaze of the spectators. He was escaping. One of the 4 Holy Masters, Second Holy Master, was running away. All the spectators were shocked, but they immediately understood. Jian Wushuang's battle strength was terrifying. He was much stronger than Second Holy Master. Furthermore, his strength was still improving greatly, so Second Holy Master could not kill Jian Wushuang at all. If he still stayed here, he would die after Jian Wushuang finished his breakthrough. Second Holy Master left. Jian Wushuang did not chase him. His transformation continued. Eventually, as Jian Wushuang absorbed the last hint of heaven and earth spiritual energy, the whole area became quiet. He gradually withdrew his aura. Jian Wushuang quietly stood above the void with 2 sword soul phantoms behind him. No aura emanated from his body. Now he looked like an ordinary man. No one would be able to perceive his existence if they closed their eyes. Divine transcendence. As for Jian Wushuang, it was Venerable Master. He made it. This is Venerable Master. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and looked serene. By now, he had completely recovered. He had reached the peak. When the grey stone bead emerged again and led him to make a breakthrough. Far away from the battlefield, in a secluded canyon, in the Tang dynasty, there was a hidden cave mansion. A middle-aged man was sitting by a long narrow table while boiling tea in the mansion. The moment the grey stone bead emerged in Jian Wushuang's body, the man seemed to perceive it and immediately stood up. The next moment, his disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already arrived at the peak of a mountain in the center of the canyon. He was looking in the direction of the battlefield. Regardless of the remoteness, the middle-aged man looked out as if he was able to see everything clearly. He narrowed his deep eyes and mumbled without any emotion. Heavenly creation skill. Chapter 352, Jian Wushuang, the Supreme Existence. Chapter 352, Jian Wushuang, the Supreme Existence. Above the void near the skyward mountain, Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, while feeling the booming power within him. Now, he had reached Venerable Master and had the strongest body. His body became extremely tough. His bones, organs, muscles, and even skin were stronger than an ordinary warrior's. It was known as iron bones, and his current body was not weaker than a third-grade magic weapon. Jian Wushuang had such a marvelous body, which was the big difference between a divine transcendence expert and him. Second Holy Master's strongest move, Scarlet Thunderbolt, just slightly injured him, because his body was too strong. His strong body led to his great strength. With just his body, Jian Wushuang was able to fight against an ordinary expert of the Saint Realm. With the help of heavenly creation skill, his strength exploded, becoming a dozen times stronger than an expert of the Saint realm. Besides that, he also made a breakthrough in cultivation and sword soul. Double sword souls. Jian Wushuang did not know that he could possess two sword souls. The double sword souls both created a sword soul phantom. The sword soul had been in his sea of consciousness, helping him with both enlightenment of essence and origin of sword principle. However, when the sword soul phantoms appeared, Jian Wushuang found each movement he displayed was reinforced by the strength of sword soul, so its power improved greatly. Now, even his casual stroke was extremely terrifying. Jian Wushuang cut off Second Holy Master's legs with one stroke, because of the strength of sword soul. If Second Holy Master had not escaped, Jian Wushuang could have killed him after the breakthrough. Venerable Master and double sword souls, I'm currently much stronger than before. It's all because of the grey stone bead. Jian Wushuang touched his lower abdomen and felt like the grey stone bead had seemingly disappeared again. But he knew that it was only hidden in his body and he just could not sense it. He also knew that without the grey stone bead, he would have died. The grey stone bead saved me once, but it might not be able to help me a second time. The way of cultivating is fraught with peril. From now on, I should be more careful. I won't let such a situation happen again. Jian Wushuang was roaring in his heart. He really had almost died in that fight. Though he had been on the edge of the precipice several times, he always survived by using some unorthodox tactics. But this time, he had survived by luck. Swordsman, my little friend. A gentle voice was heard as Wine Master slowly walked over. Senior Wine Master, said Jian Wushuang. Congratulations on your breakthrough. Wine Master smiled and said, Second Holy Master is one of the supreme experts in Nanyang continent, but you cut off his legs with one stroke. Besides the mysterious monarch of the Tang dynasty, you might be the only one who could do that. Wine Master changed his attitude towards Jian Wushuang. He now called Jian Wushuang little friend instead of boy. If he fought with Second Holy Master, Wine Master would run away, but Jian Wushuang easily cut off Second Holy Master's legs. After that, Wine Master knew that the young man's strength was far superior to his. Therefore, he could not call the young man boy anymore. I was just lucky, Jian Wushuang replied with a faint smile. He was not proud of himself, as he was clear that luck had helped him out. Luck is a part of your strength. Wine Master smiled and said, from now on, you are the strongest expert in Nanyang continent. Even if you fought First Holy Master from Holy Emperor Palace, you would defeat him. That is to say, Holy Emperor Palace is no longer a threat to you. Holy Emperor Palace. A hint of coldness flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Holy Emperor Palace has tried to kill me. I have a grudge against them. That is irreconcilable. Now that my strength improved greatly, I need to destroy this enemy. But first, I have to go somewhere. Senior Wine Master, Jian Wushuang looked toward Wine Master and said, I have to go somewhere. Please tell my brothers after they wake up. Okay. The Wine Master nodded. See you. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands and left. He changed into a lightning and disappeared into the sky. The Wine Master sighed in private while watching his back. I remember the first time I met him. He was at the primordial gold core level. Yet it only took him this long to completely surpass my strength. Too fast. In the vast Nanyang continent, there have been countless, marvelous geniuses and experts, but none of them can hold a candle to him. He will become a legend in the Nanyang continent. The other experts who witnessed the fight were petrified. He cut off Second Holy Master's legs with one stroke. Second Holy Master ran away without even hesitating. His reached divine transcendence. He was so powerful after his breakthrough. I'm afraid that, except for the mysterious monarch of the Tang dynasty, no one will be his match. From now on, he has become a supreme existence. Jian Wushuang, with a sword in hand, he is invincible. Their eyes sparkled. They witnessed a star rise in the Nanyang continent. Jian Wushuang would be a legend in the Nanyang continent. Chapter 353 Master Ju Xiu. Chapter 353 Master Ju Xiu. Inside the Holy Emperor Palace. The palace master and many elders of Holy Emperor Palace were waiting quietly in a fine loft. Waiting for Second Holy Master's triumphant return. Second Holy Master is handling it personally, so Jian Wushuang will die even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms. They were all confident in Second Holy Master. Second Holy Master reached the pinnacle hundreds of years ago. He was strong enough to be ranked in the top 5 on the Nanyang continent. To kill someone at the peak of the Yang Void Realm is as easy as winking. Even if it was Wine Master, he couldn't survive Second Holy Master's attack. It's been quite a while now, so Second Holy Master should be back soon. The Holy Emperor Palace's master said, casually. At this moment, they noticed a flowing light rushing toward them. His back. It's Second Holy Master. Their faces broke into smiles. However, once the flowing light approached and they clearly saw his current state, their smiles froze. Second Holy Master looked pale. His clothing was torn, like an old rag, and he was covered in blood. But the most notable issue was, his legs were cut off. What happened? They were all astonished. They thought no one but the mysterious monarch of Tang dynasty on the Nanyang continent could injure him so heavily. Did he fall into a trap? Could he have been surrounded by the alchemy school or some other experts? They thought, walking towards him. Second Holy Master, what? Palace Master was about to ask. Shut up. Second Holy Master shouted and glanced at them with cold eyes. He was too impatient and didn't want to waste any more words. Instead, he went directly to the giant mountain where the other 3 Holy Masters were. The Palace Master and the elders of Holy Emperor Palace looked at each other in confusion. None of them understood what just happened. Soon, in an abode of the giant mountain, Second Holy Master met with the other 3 Holy Masters. They were shocked when they saw Second Holy Master. Second brother, what happened? A silver-haired elder asked in a deep voice. He was the strongest elder in Holy Emperor Palace, First Holy Master, who was also the key stand in Holy Emperor Palace. Second Holy Master was strong enough to be ranked in the top 5 on the Nanyang continent, but First Holy Master was recognized as the strongest, excluding the monarch of Tang dynasty. Besides that, he was much stronger than the alchemy school's expert, who was ranked 3rd. He was also very old. We are in trouble. Second Holy Master was in a surly mood as he explained what he had experienced. After hearing the story, they all frowned. Jian Wushuang made a breakthrough, again? First Holy Master asked. Yes. Second Holy Master nodded. Not only has his strength improved a lot, he split my magic weapon and cutting off my legs with only 1 sword move. On top of that, his body became so hard that my Scarlet Thunderbolt only left a scratch on him. It's incredible. Big brother, I was much more overwhelmed while facing him than you. If it was a 1-to-1 fight, I'm afraid you wouldn't be his opponent either. Hearing that, First Holy Master's face fell. They had cultivated together for years, so they clearly understood each other's strength. He knew, though he was stronger than Second Holy Master, it was impossible for him to split his magic weapon and cut off his legs with only 1 sword move. But Jian Wushuang did it. Even more terrifying than that though, was the strength of his body. He believed what Second Holy Master had said. Jian Wushuang was stronger than him. The worst part is his age. Second Holy Master gnashed his teeth and said, he is only 22 years old. If he is given more time, I can't imagine what will happen. His words silenced all 3 of them. It was true. The biggest threat was his age. He was young but he improved so quickly. Jian Wushuang. First Holy Master narrowed his eyes and said, I never expected he would be harder to deal with than his father. Let's go to see Master Zhu Xiu. Second Holy Master and the other 2 were surprised, then they nodded heavily. They quickly arrived at the top of Giant Mountain. Then, they stopped at an exquisite loft where the door was closed. Master Zhu Xiu. They saluted at the door. What's wrong? A cold voice sounded. Judging from the voice, it was a young man. There is a problem. First Holy Master immediately explained everything to him. Jian Wushuang, a son from the bloodline of the sword ancestor. The young man was in high spirits as he continued, He killed 7 Saint Realm experts easily even before his breakthrough, then defeated a pinnacle Saint Realm expert after his breakthrough. Good. Tell me all the details of the fight. Yes. Second Holy Master nodded, then he recounted everything to him with respect. He told him every detail, from Zhen Wushuang's 5 killing moves, to his near-death, then his breakthrough and his explosive strength. However, he was interrupted in the middle. You said, 2 spectral images appeared behind him when he brandished his sword, didn't you? The young man in the loft interrupted him. Yes. Second Holy Master nodded. Ha ha. He laughed. Sword Soul Phantom. He had 2 Sword Soul Phantoms, double Sword Souls. This son of the Sword Ancestor bloodline is really great. Zhen Wushuang, the son of Zhen Nantian. He gathered Sword Souls too, but it seems he is even more talented than his father. I really want his 2 Sword Souls. Where is Zhen Wushuang now? I don't know. Second Holy Master shook his head. It was true. Previously, he was able to track Zhen Wushuang because of the Blood Soul mark. However, the Blood Soul mark disappeared after he made his breakthrough. With that, he couldn't track Zhen Wushuang anymore. You don't know? His voice was sullen. But then his voice changed. Never mind, even if we don't look for him, he will come looking for us soon enough. Okay, I understand. You may leave now. Yes. Your Highness. The 4 Holy Masters left. In the loft, the young man murmured to himself, Zhen Wushuang, double Sword Souls, interesting. Chapter 354, Sword Scar. Chapter 354, Sword Scar. News of the outstanding fight between Zhen Wushuang and Second Holy Master raged throughout the whole Nanyang continent. Everyone had heard the story of Zhen Wushuang's rise. However, the hero had not returned to Qianzong dynasty after he defeated Second Holy Master. Instead, he went to the abyss in the innumerable huge mountains, near Qianzong dynasty. At the abyss in the innumerable huge mountains, which was known as the Forbidden Area. Few went there, so they didn't know that there was a secret hidden there. Zhen Wushuang jumped directly towards the bottom of the abyss. After arriving at the ancestors' land again, Zhen Wushuang immediately saw Jin Ling and Mu Shan. Zhen Wushuang, here you are again. Jin Ling looked at Zhen Wushuang coldly, then her expression changed as she said, Divine Transcendence. She noticed his tranquil breath, which only a Saint Realm expert could have. How long has it been? Both Jin Ling and Mu Shan were shocked. It had been less than 2 years since he left Ancestors' Land last time. At that time, Zhen Wushuang had just reached the peak of the Yin Void Realm with the help of the Ancestors' Land. However, now he had reached Divine Transcendence. What a terrifying level of improvement. I came here to take the second trial of the Ancestors' Land, Zhen Wushuang said openly. Jin Ling took a deep look at Zhen Wushuang, nodded, then said, Follow me. She led Zhen Wushuang to a small 1-story loft. The second trial is inside, go in, Jin Ling said. Zhen Wushuang stepped inside without a second thought. It was an open space, with a stone tablet and a statue standing at the center. Zhen Wushuang once saw a similar stone tablet in the sword tomb, and there was also a sword scar on it. The sword scar was smooth and flat. Seeing the sword scar, Zhen Wushuang felt how extraordinary it was. The statue seemed ordinary and lifeless, but Zhen Wushuang knew it was a powerful puppet fighter. Suddenly, Jin Ling's voice reverberated. Zhen Wushuang, have you seen the sword scar on the stone tablet? It was left by Sword Ancestor, and it contains a sword skill. What you need to do is master it in 1 month. 1 month. The time started counting when you stepped inside. The door has closed and will not open until you master it. There is also a puppet fighter near the stone tablet. It will wake up in a month, and if you haven't come out by the time it wakes up, you will definitely be killed. After saying that, Jin Ling's voice vanished from the loft. Looking at the sword scar, Zhen Wushuang's eyes began glittering with excitement. Is there a sword skill in it? Zhen Wushuang carefully looked at the sword scar with a flicker of curiosity. Such an abstruse scar. Zhen Wushuang understood most of it, but he could not fully understand it for now. This is a tyrannical and mysterious sword skill. Zhen Wushuang was surprised. He understood why Jin Ling said that he couldn't pass the second trial if he hadn't reached divine transcendence. It's because the sword skill was too hard to understand for an ordinary yin-yang void realm warrior. If one forced himself to study it, they would probably go mad. Only Saint Realm experts were qualified to study it. Jian Wushuang sat down immediately and started meditating on the sword skill. Outside the loft, Jin Ling and Mu Shan stood together, side by side. 1 month is neither long nor short. Do you think he can pass it? Mu Shan said. Hard to say. Jin Ling shook his head secretly. They knew clearly how tough the second trial was. It was much tougher than the first one. Both of them were tests for martial talent. The first trial offered guidance while the second one could only be understood by oneself. Most importantly, it was the work of the sword ancestor. Who was he? He created it himself, and even though it might not be the most powerful, it was still a strong sword skill. Even many Saint Realm experts who had good swordsmanship couldn't fully master it after studying for decades. Jian Wushuang only had 1 month. Wait and see. He is no less talented than his father, so it's possible for him to pass, Jin Ling said. They could do nothing for Jian Wushuang, they could only wait outside. Time passed. Quang. The door opened and Jian Wushuang walked out slowly. Jin Ling and Mu Shan turned to Jian Wushuang in astonishment. How it could be? It's only been 3 days. Jin Ling and Mu Shan were shocked. 3 days. Yes, they had only waited outside for 3 days. He could leave the loft after he mastered the sword skill and passed the second trial. Only 3 days. Sorry to have kept you waiting, Jian Wushuang said with a smile, then walked over to Jin Ling and Mu Shan. How could you? Jin Ling stared at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. It was created by the sword ancestor. A normal Saint Realm warrior could spend their whole life trying to master it. Even though you have awakened sword soul and have a high degree of talent, it's impossible for you to master it in only 3 days. Jian Wushuang touched his nose shyly. The sword skill was abstruse, but he had smoothly mastered it in only 3 days. Maybe I should thank my sword souls. While he was busy speaking, the 2 sword souls from his sea of consciousness surged behind Jian Wushuang. Chapter 355, Double First Grade Sword Souls. Chapter 355, Double First Grade Sword Souls. 2 sword soul phantoms, each nearly 100 feet tall, rose behind Jian Wushuang, tall and straight, with majesty and a towering sword essence. They are. Both Jin Ling and Mu Shan were struck dumb with amazement. Sword soul phantom. 2 sword soul phantoms, and so tall. Double first grade sword souls. They were stunned. This explains it. That's why you only took 3 days to pass the second trial. Jin Ling looked at Jian Wushuang with a solemn face. First grade sword soul? Jian Wushuang was surprised, then his sword soul phantoms vanished. Are there different grades of sword soul? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course. Jin Ling nodded solemnly and explained, sword soul, only talented experts can awaken it, and the more talented they are in sword principle, the more powerful the sword soul they awaken will be. Just like magic weapons, manuals, and elixirs, sword soul is classified into 3 grades. At the height of the sword ancestor's bloodline, only a few geniuses awakened sword souls, but most of them were 2nd grade or 3rd grade. It's rare to see a 1st grade. Not only that, very few can awaken more than 1 sword soul. Super geniuses are totally able to awaken 2 or more. At his peak, the sword ancestor commanded 7 sword emperors. They were top experts and every one of them awakened multiple sword souls. 7 sword emperors? Jian Wushuang was astonished. The more sword soul one awakes, the more helpful it is in comprehending sword principle and origin. What's more, if a sword soul forms a spectral image, it also improves one's strength significantly. And the higher grade a sword soul is, the more powerful it is. Sword soul is classified into 3 grades. A 3rd grade spectral image is less than 30 feet high. Sword soul phantoms of the 2nd grade go up to 60 feet. However, 1st grade sword soul phantoms can be as tall as 90 feet. You have 2, and both sword soul phantoms are nearly 100 feet tall. They are definitely double first-grade sword souls, Jinling said. They are. Jian Wushuang blinked. His sword soul phantoms were tall, both reaching about 100 feet in height. If a sword soul's grade was judged by its height, he had double first-grade sword souls. Jinling paused, then she continued, a first-grade sword soul is rare, and having double first-grade sword souls is incredible. Most importantly, you awakened them at such a young age. It's possible for you to have a third one in the future. A third one? Jian Wushuang commented and smiled. He didn't know much about sword souls before, so he also did not know anything about double sword souls. But, now he knew, and double sword souls was not the limit. Jinling, you said that the more talented one was in sword principle, the more sword soul they would awaken. How many sword souls did the sword ancestor have? What was their grade? Jian Wushuang asked while still surprised. The sword ancestor, Jinling was stunned, then she smiled. The sword ancestor had 6 first-grade sword souls. 6 first-grade sword souls? Jian Wushuang was stunned, then he marveled secretly, amazing. He really was the ancestor of sword principle. Jian Wushuang thought himself great when he found out about double sword souls, but now, compared with sword ancestor, I have a long way to go. Jian Wushuang smiled, but he wasn't downhearted. After all, sword soul improved with his growth. Sword ancestor must have lived a long time to have 6 sword souls. However, Jian Wushuang had just started moving along his path. The sword ancestor's bloodline has been declining, but you and your father awakened sword soul in succession. You even awakened double first-grade sword souls, which is a miracle. And, your father, he came here not long ago, Jinling suddenly said. My father? Jian Wushuang looked toward her. After destroying Blood Feather Tower, he had separated with his father. After that, he had not heard any news about his father. But, just now, he had heard something related to his father from Jinling. It was about 1 year ago. He came here right after he had reached divine transcendence. He is also highly talented and passed the second trial, though he took longer than you. Even though his first sword soul was stolen, he managed to awaken another one. And it was also a first-grade sword soul, Jinling said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help smiling. His father's talent was no less than his. His father ate a reversal red scorching elixir, which suppressed his potential by a large extent. Even with that, Jian Nantian still reached divine transcendence and awakened a first-grade sword soul. Where is he now? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know. Jinling shook her head and said, after passing the trial and getting some opportunities, he left. But he left behind a letter for you. Jinling took out the letter. Jian Wushuang raised her eyebrows. After taking the letter, he opened it and read it. A moment later, he finished reading. Father, have you left already? Jian Wushuang said with a smile. You left Holy Emperor Palace for me to deal with, so I need to improve as soon as possible. Jian Wushuang smashed the letter to pieces. After passing each trial in the ancestors' land, you will be given some opportunities. Jinling looked over at Jian Wushuang. You have passed the second trial and are now a core disciple of the sword ancestors' bloodline. Therefore, you will have more privileges and opportunities. Chapter 356, Heart Killing. Chapter 356, Heart Killing. Opportunities. Jian Wushuang was intrigued by these words. Each trial in Ancestors' Land was accompanied by gifts. Like what he had got after passing the first trial. Surely he would get more after passing the second trial. It is the same as the first trial, you will be given 3 opportunities. Jinling said, follow me. Led by Jinling, Jian Wushuang went to the altar of the Ancestors' Land again. There was a chain bridge leading to the core of the Ancestors' Land, and Jian Wushuang walked along it, towards the center. He found himself in a vast wasteland with a towering sword mountain. On the mountainside, there were several ancient characters. Jian Wushuang couldn't read them, but he felt they were mysterious. You're a core disciple of the sword ancestor's bloodline now, so you are admitted to accessing to the strongest sword skill sword ancestor created, heart killing. Jinling looked at Jian Wushuang. Heart killing sword technique? The most powerful sword skill sword ancestor created. Jian Wushuang was stunned. At the height of the sword ancestor's bloodline, only the sword ancestor's personal disciples were permitted to study it. However, things are different now. A genius like you is rare among the descendants of the sword ancestor's bloodline. Therefore, you are qualified to study it, Jinling said. There are 9 sword movements in total, and each character on the mountainside contains 1 movement. You only have 1 chance to see them. Keep in mind, what you need to do is to try your best to memorize as much as possible. It's up to you to remember them. Jian Wushuang nodded seriously. 9 characters in total, each one containing 1 sword movement. Go ahead. After saying that, Jinling and Mu Shan stepped back. Jian Wushuang stood alone at the foot of the mountain, looking up at the characters. Suddenly, the first character began to shine. A picture appeared in front of Jian Wushuang's eyes. It was a black-clothed elder, practicing a sword movement. He watched carefully and kept all the details in his mind. But it only lasted for a moment. As the first character's light disappeared, the second character began to shine. So fast. Jian Wushuang frowned secretly. As soon as the first one finished, the second one started. Jian Wushuang noticed that there was a connection between them, so if he couldn't memorize the first character, it would be difficult to understand the second one. As Jinling had said, there was only 1 chance, and he needed to memorize as much as possible. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and completely immersed himself in the image. One by one, they flashed through his mind, each one only being displayed once. Jian Wushuang only had 1 chance. Not far behind Jian Wushuang, Jinling and Mu Shan stood, staring at him. It's the 6th movement. It seems he has memorized the first 5 movements. To memorize the 6th should be easy for him, and the 7th is possible, but the 8th will be difficult, Jinling murmured. With the heart-killing sword technique, the further he goes, the more subtle the technique becomes. Therefore, it's hard to memorize all 9 movements in one attempt. During their heyday, even the sword ancestor's personal disciples could only memorize 7 at most with 1 glance, Mu Shan said, then sighed with feeling. The 9 sword movements of the heart-killing sword technique. The sword movements alone were simple. But, understanding the abstruseness, that was difficult. Too complicated, too abstruse. If you didn't understand it at a glance, how could you memorize it? Because of that, it was fortunate if someone could memorize the first 7 movements in a single attempt. Jian Wushuang's father, Jian Nantian, watched them once and memorized the first 7, but he failed on the 8th. Jian Wushuang has awaked double first-grade sword souls, so he is more talented than his father. It's possible for him to memorize the 8th. Jinling thought. On the side of the sword mountain, the 7th character began to shine. Though the 7th was more abstruse than the previous 6, Jian Wushuang still firmly kept it in mind. Then the 8th character. Both Jinling and Mu Shan stared at Jian Wushuang, watching him memorize the 8th. Then the last one. The 9th, which was the last one, began to shine. The 9th movement. Jinling and Mu Shan were full of expectations. The most powerful movement. Even at the height of the sword ancestor's bloodline, only 1 person managed to memorize all of them. However, he was a traitor. A green light flashed on the mountainside, then everything calmed down. Jian Wushuang was still standing there, with his eyes closed, recalling all the images and memorizing them. Then he opened his eyes and sighed, with a light flashing in his eyes. The heart-killing sword technique really is the most powerful sword skill sword ancestor created. Jian Wushuang thought. He scanned them all once again, and only 1 word could describe how he was feeling right now. Awesome. Jian Wushuang was good at sword principle, so he understood the power of this sword skill. In comparison, the blood-emptying technique and selfless sword technique, as powerful as they were much weaker than heart-killing sword technique. The heart-killing sword technique had high requirements. The first movement required a Saint Realm expert whose comprehension in slaughter origin had reached the pinnacle. This was the first movement. The other 8 movements were even more powerful and had even higher requirements. I have memorized all 9 movements of the heart-killing sword technique. However, I'm unable to even study the first movement, Zhen Wushuang said with a bitter smile. Chapter 357 Multifarious Sword Skills. Chapter 357 Multifarious Sword Skills. Zhen Wushuang, how is it going? Jin Ling and Mu Shan came over to Zhen Wushuang and asked him. I've memorized all the movements of the heart-killing sword technique, Zhen Wushuang answered. Great. Jin Ling was very happy to hear that. You've done as well as that traitor, Mu Shan said with a smile. Traitor? Zhen Wushuang was intrigued by this information. This was your first chance, the heart-killing sword technique. Let's move on to the second one, said Jin Ling. Then he led Zhen Wushuang to a tall tower. The tower was about 24 meters high, the top of which thrust into the clouds like a sharp sword. In the upper part, there were two elegant words, Sword Tower. This is. Zhen Wushuang looked up at the lofty building before him. It's the Sword Tower, as you can see, Jin Ling said. It consists of multifarious sword skills, and it's one of the most important heritages of the sword ancestors' bloodline. Most of the sword skills inside were created by the top experts of the sword ancestors' bloodline, while the rest were collected from other places. There are many skills of various kinds. Only 1/10 of the skills were handed down after the destruction of the sword ancestors' bloodline. But, at present, those are enough for you to practice. You can stay inside as long as you want and carefully choose skills you want to learn, either by reading or memorizing them, but you can't take them out of the tower. Understood. Zhen Wushuang nodded slightly. You can enter, Jin Ling said. Zhen Wushuang thought nothing of stepping into the tower. As soon as he entered, he saw lines of bookcases filled with thick and dense books. Even with only a quick glance, it was obvious that there were tens of thousands of books. He went to the first bookcase, on which he noticed a list of books. He was immediately shocked by the number of sword skills that were recorded on the list. 6,400 third-grade sword techniques, 970 second-grade sword techniques, 10 first-grade sword techniques. Holy God! Zhen Wushuang was deeply shocked. The amount of treasure accumulated by the sword ancestors' bloodline over the long years was simply amazing. There were a great number of the third-grade original sword techniques as well as 970 second-grade sword techniques. If these sword techniques appeared in the Nanyang continent, a considerable number of Saint Realm experts would go crazy over them. But, inside this tower, they were so common that there was almost 1,000 of them. As for the first-grade sword technique, they only existed in the legends of the Nanyang continent. That was also true for manuals, magic weapons, and elixirs of the first grade. Powerful as the Holy Emperor Palace was, it only had 8 superior second-grade manuals. But in this tower, there were up to 10 sword skills of the first grade. What did this mean? If these scrolls were taken out to the Nanyang continent, all the forces and experts would go crazy trying to snatching them. More importantly, even though only 1/10 of the sword skills were maintained after the fall of the sword ancestors' bloodline, the number of sword skills stored in the tower was still a vast amount. If this amount of sword skills still remained, one can only imagine how many there were when the sword ancestors' bloodline was at its peak. Just thinking about it was enough to shock Zhen Wushuang. There are many types of sword skills, from various fields, but which ones would be useful to me? Zhen Wushuang immediately began checking them carefully. He started by checking the 10 first-grade sword techniques. Even though these 10 sword skills were no match for the heart-killing sword technique, which was created by the sword ancestor himself, they were still very powerful. First-grade sword technique, mind's eye sword technique. A single glance at the introduction on the scroll was enough to cause Zhen Wushuang's eyes to light up. Mind's eye sword technique was a special and unique sword skill. Maybe it would be better to call it a method. It was a technique for warriors to condense their sword essence and store it between their eyebrows. Once released, the essence would surge out with a quick burst. Store sword essence between the eyebrows? Zhen Wushuang smiled. He had heard of many sword skills, but the mind's eye sword technique was the most unusual and unique one that he had seen. But, he also understood how devious this technique could be if used at the right time. What would happen if someone unexpectedly attacked with a powerful blast of sword essence from between his eyebrows in the middle of a fierce fight? There are definitely very few people who could anticipate this attack and react quickly enough. The longer the sword essence is stored, the more powerful it will be. And it can be released in a split second. What a brilliant first-grade sword technique. Jian Wushuang praised it inwardly. If properly applied, this sword skill could be a weapon of mass destruction, so Jian Wushuang was very interested in it. However, he was in no rush to practice it right this moment. He continued to look through the rest of the first-grade sword techniques. 4 of the 10 first-grade sword techniques were powerful attacks that worked well with slaughter origin. As for 2 others of the 10, one attached great importance to speed while the other one was abstruse. But they were both powerful. The above 6 were skills for a head-to-head fight, while the remaining 4 were quite unusual. Mind's Eye sword technique was one of them. To Jian Wushuang's surprise, he also found a sword skill named Multifold Realm among the remaining 4. Similar to the sword realm that he had gained from the Deluo Heaven sect, the Multifold Realm was also a skill that could overpower an opponent by forming a sword realm. But, as a first-grade sword technique, Multifold Realm was much more powerful than Sword Realm. It was divided into 5 levels. The first level, the First Realm. The second level, the Tenfold Realm. The third level, the Hundredfold Realm. The fourth level, the Thousandfold Realm. The fifth level, the Multifold Realm. Each level was more powerful than the previous one. The power behind the combination of Blood River, Slaughter Domain, and Sword Realm is my trump card. But it's a pity that Sword Realm is only a third-grade skill. Even though I've mastered it to the highest level, Sword C, it still isn't that helpful when combined with the Blood River from Road to the Underworld. But Multifold Realm is different. As a first-grade sword technique, even the first level of it is much more powerful than Sword C. Combined with Road to the Underworld, the force will only be stronger. Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered. Among the 10 first-grade sword techniques, this technique was his favorite, followed by Mind's Eye sword technique. Inside the tower, as he casually looked through the scrolls, he would pay more attention to the techniques that surprised him, which increased his understanding of sword principle more and more as he progressed. While immersing himself in study, he lost track of time. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,